So, Captain Fantastic is a movie directed by Matt Ross, and it was released on January 23rd in 2016, and it features actors such as Viggo Mortensen, but also George McKay and Steve Zahn, and it's mainly set in the northwest of the US in 2016. So the story talks about Ben Cash, who lives with his 6 children out in the wilderness, completely isolated from society, and the children were taught by their parents how to survive in the wild and how to hunt, and also psychology, science, maths, economy, amongst other subjects, where they all excel at and show intelligence way beyond their years. After their mother, Leslie, dies because she committed suicide as she was suffering from bipolar disorder, Ben is left alone to take care of the children, and Leslie's parents do not want to cremate their daughter, even though it was her last wish. And so because of this reason, Ben and his children decide to step out of the wilderness and into society for the very first time in many years in order to stop the funeral. And during this trip, the 6 children find out how little they actually know about the real world, and this makes them and also Leslie's parents start to doubt about Ben's actual parenting skills. Many even accuse Ben of being the actual cause for Leslie's death because he followed and supported her into a lifestyle that is definitely uncertain and dangerous. And after one of his daughters almost dies by falling off of a roof, Ben decides to give up his children and leave them with their grandparents, with whom they would have a second chance with a safer life. But despite the various fights and being handed the chance of a safer life, Bo and the other children decide to go back with their father and leave the grandparents and exhume their mother to give her the proper funeral. And at the end of the movie, we see Badavan, who is able to live his dreams and travel, while the rest of the family settles into a more real lifestyle by living on a farm and letting the children go to school. So we can definitely say that Captain Fantastic is one of those movies that not everyone is able to understand the meaning of it immediately. And I too had to watch the movie at least twice to really get a good grip of what it was about and the symbolism that was hiding behind the movie or behind the plot. The protagonist, Ben Cash, is the father of 6 children, and he decides to live in a wilderness and not live up to society's expectations and norms, and instead live completely isolated from it. He is also a former left-wing anarchist who completely opposes capitalism, which is a recurrent theme in the movie as well. And at the end, even though you might not completely agree with their choices or not agree with what they stand for, you do end up rooting for these weird and unique characters and their goal to, give their mother the proper funeral that she desired. And what I think was so special about this movie was the fact that there was this ever-recurring question of who is the villain and who is right and who's wrong, and is there even a right or wrong? Because we do see this movie from the family's point of view. So we grow to believe that society is the actual villain because those who live in it are living a materialistic and mainly industrialized life, while Ben was able to create something unique that is completely disconnected from that. But at the same time, with the movie going on, we see how even though the children know everything about the world, at the same time, they don't. Because they don't have the basic social knowledge that they need in order to approach somebody else. And we see this with the children many times, that they're not able to relate to people their age. So this movie does talk about many serious subjects, but I was definitely pleased to discover that I was not overwhelmed while watching it, because it does put a bit of quirkiness to it, which makes the movie easier to watch. And besides this, the script was definitely incredibly well written, and it described the family's beliefs and point of views perfectly, even though sometimes I felt that those beliefs were a bit forced upon an audience that might not agree with them, and therefore also dislike the movie as a result. And overall, it kind of reminded me of one of my other favorite movies called Into the Wild, which talked about similar subjects and sent similar messages regarding the superficialities of capitalism and materialism of a society that is completely desensitized and disconnected from them. So with that being said, I definitely think that this is a one-of-a-kind movie that I would recommend further on, and that deserves a 4 out of 5 from me.